It's not also just about managing the money, it's about that circle of trust, right? The people that you depend on, you go to for advice, you know that they're going to give you good guidance, especially if you've lost a partner that you often made those kinds of decisions with.
Financial advisors are going to help you first and foremost reestablish your financial plan.
Statistics suggest that most women are going to outlive their male partner. And so we don't ever want any member of the family to feel like they're in the passenger seat or being put in the back seat.
And especially for our widow clients whose husbands used to make all of the financial decisions, it is just completely overwhelming. All of a sudden, and especially if it's sudden and unexpected, you are 100% in control of your financial position and you have to make decisions. Hello, welcome back.
Hello, great to be here with you. Good to see you as always.
Always great to see you too, partner. Welcome back, everybody, to Living Richly with Curo. This is episode 90. Feels like a big number. I am Ann McCabe, the CEO and a partner here at Curo Private Wealth, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely, fantastic partner, Atricia.
Hello, I am Atricia Roberts, COO and partner here at Curo. Thanks so much for coming back to check us out for another episode if you've been here before. And welcome if this is your first time.
Yes, we love you all. We welcome you all. We appreciate you all because we know you have very limited time. Everybody is so busy and you have limited time and limited attention, and you're choosing to spend some of that and invest some of that in here with us. So thank you for that. If you are just checking us out for the first time, our mission here at the podcast, but also in what we do in our real lives each and every day in our firm, is to educate, empower, and inspire you on your financial journeys. And today's episode is really for people who may have recently lost a spouse. We're going to be pretty specific around the challenging journey and the challenging transition that is, and making financial decisions if you are in this situation can feel extremely overwhelming. It's hard to know where to turn and who to trust. And so today we will talk about that. Who should be on your team if you are going through this life transition. And also we're going to talk about what are the key questions that you should ask these potential team members of yours to ensure that you are fully supported and you feel as comfortable as you possibly can navigating really this journey and this transition.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not also just about managing the money, it's about that circle of trust, right? The people that you depend on, you go to for advice, you know that they're going to give you good guidance, especially if you've lost a partner that you often made those kinds of decisions with, right? So we have to talk about that, is replacing or sort of trying to fill in the gap of that trusted partnership. And so when we think about who should be on the team, there are three for us today that come to mind, and we're going to go into them in a lot more depth. But we think the sort of starting lineup of this team, as you're redefining what life looks like now, should start with a good financial advisor.
Yay.
Shameless plug for Curo. An estate planning attorney, very, very critical member of the team. And then also an accountant or CPA, someone to help you navigate and figure out the tax situation.
Yeah. So we're going to dig into what each of these different professionals does and how they can help you. So first, we're going to start with financial advisors. If you don't know, that is what Atricia and I do and our firm does each and every day. So financial advisors and financial planners are going to help you first and foremost reestablish your financial plan. Now, depending upon how sudden this was, this could look different depending upon your situation. So in some cases, we're working with widows for whom this transition happened very suddenly, very unexpectedly. And we have to kind of ease into the conversation around what does your new financial plan look like? And sometimes people are ready to think about that and start visualizing what that looks like. And sometimes people are not ready, and that's okay. But really establishing a new financial plan for yourself is critically important when you are ready for that. And some of the areas that we'll cover in that plan are things like your retirement plan, maybe talking about college planning for your grandchildren or for your children, tax planning, and also your investments and how to manage your investments moving forward. We will also talk about life insurance. So, likely, if you have a life insurance payout, how to properly manage that, but also to look at your life insurance coverage and your insurance coverage in general and make sure that it is still appropriate for the situation that you find yourself in. So, really, the financial planner, financial advisor is going to hopefully take a holistic approach at looking at your financial position, helping you establish goals, and then really implementing a plan. Next, an estate planning attorney is going to help you update your estate planning documents. So, this is a will, possibly a trust if you have one established or want to have one established, and also your beneficiary designations. And then, of course, the estate planning attorney is going to help you with any estate related matters that you need to deal with your deceased spouse as well. Now, your CPA comes in obviously helping with your tax position. And one of the big things, big topics we always talk about with our widow clients is the change in tax filing status. Now, we talked about this, I think, on our last episode or a couple episodes ago, but this is a real challenge and it's a really big change. So, managing and navigating that is critically important. Also, talking about how to deal with survivor benefits if you have any of those. And then, of course, transfer of assets and any sort of tax implication that you need to be aware of.
Yeah. And if you haven't had the experience of working with either of these professionals in the past, or maybe in your partnership, you weren't the key financial person, right? You weren't the person handling all of the things. We do acknowledge that you don't know what you don't know. So, the other thing we want to do is make sure we give you some questions to help guide you in your conversation with these professionals. So, we'll start with financial advisors. These are the professionals we're most familiar with for obvious reasons. But so here's a few questions we think would be helpful in starting those conversations. One, how much experience do you have working with widows or with women in transition? Remember, you're in a very specific sort of phase of life, and it's very helpful to work with a professional who gets it, who knows how to navigate from a financial place the pitfalls, the challenges of that phase of life. Also, you should ask, what strategies do you use for managing assets after the loss of a spouse? And of course, this could mean things like tax loss or tax gain harvesting, right? All of those different strategies that you can employ when your tax status is projected to change. Next question we want to offer is, how should I manage my life insurance payout? And should I make changes to my coverage? So, for lots of people, insurance was purchased in many cases years ago for varying reasons, right? So, you get this payout. The first question is obviously, what do I do with the proceeds? But a really good follow up question is, well, what do I do now? How much insurance do I need now? How should I be covered now? So, we think those are three good questions to start guiding the conversation with a financial advisor. Now, for the estate planning attorney, obviously those questions are going to be slightly different. So, we want to offer you some to kind of guide the conversation. One, how do you help widows update their estate plans? And so, if you haven't caught on, we want you to focus on things that really hone into the specific of your current situation. So, you want to know exactly what they do to help women like you, right? What do you do to serve women like me? Also, do you recommend any strategies that will help me minimize estate taxes? Again, this is not an estate tax podcast. We'll save that for a future episode. But there are changes that happen when you now don't have the benefit of the unlimited marital deduction for estate transfer. So now you've got to start looking at what's next. For a CPA or an accountant, we think one of the big questions you should start with is, how will my tax filing change? And should I do anything tax related now to get ahead of that change? I mean, how many times have I considered just marrying someone so that I can have them married filing jointly tax status?
Yeah, same.
Again, no, not a good reason to get married. But it's like, I should really get married. I need higher deductions, right? I need higher limits on some of this stuff. So we do understand that when you lose a spouse, that is going to change and it's going to have a major impact on your tax status. So getting ahead of that is a great place to start with the conversation with the CPA. And then also what strategies you should use or employ to help minimize not only the taxes now, but your taxes into the future. Again, there are tons of other questions that you can ask and probably should ask, but we think these are a few to just help get the conversation going.
Yeah, when we're working with widows, often talk about how there are some decisions that you can put off. There are some decisions that you don't need to rush to make, but there are some decisions that do have a time urgency. And the tax planning and tax strategies is one of those because you have a short window of time after your spouse passes away that you can still file as jointly married, filing jointly, and then you lose that opportunity. And as Atricia mentioned, when you lose that opportunity, you go back to, single or head of household if you have children. And those, tax brackets are much lower. The standard deduction is much lower. So we try to be careful and we don't ever want to pressure people into making decisions. So we want to obviously be patient and help them, make decisions when they're ready. But we will say to people periodically, this is one of those decisions that we do actually need to make in a relatively short period of time, and it's for your benefit because once the calendar turns to the next year, you lose this opportunity. So that is something that we try to do, is kind of categorize and bucket things for folks of like, here are things you can push off, maybe like what are you going to do with your house, for example, that can wait, but tax strategies in using that married filing jointly are more urgent. Okay, so now we're going to talk about something that as women, I think we are uniquely good at, and that is trusting our gut. So,
Yeah.
Atricia and I are a little bit different in how we approach decisions. Atricia is very intuition driven, very gut driven. I tend to be more like, show me the facts and figures. But I think we can all agree that we as women have gut feelings, right? When we meet someone, when we sit down with someone, we tend to feel like, yeah, this person could be a good fit for me, or like there's something about this person that's just rubbing me the wrong way, or it's just not going to work for me. So, when you are making this decision of which professionals you're going to have on your financial team to help you through this process and folks that you can really rely on, you of course want a team filled with professionals with experience. Of course, hopefully that goes without saying, but you also want folks who have experience, and Atricia mentioned this earlier, dealing with people like you who have helped support other widows and other women in transition through these challenging times and through this journey, because you ideally want to be able to offload a lot of the financial burden that you are feeling. And especially for our widow clients whose husbands used to make all of the financial decisions, it is just completely overwhelming, right? Like all of a sudden, and especially if it's sudden and unexpected, you are 100% in control of your financial position and you have to make decisions. And you want somebody who you can bounce ideas off of and brainstorm with and trust to really offload that burden. So, having a team with whom you feel really comfortable is extremely important. It's also really important that you feel like you're heard, that you feel like you're understood, that you don't feel like people are minimizing your feelings, or we've talked about mansplaining before, right? That you're not getting explained, that you don't feel like someone's patting you on the head like, oh, sweet little girl. You want to feel comfortable to ask the questions to really make an educated decision. It's also extremely important, and as we're talking about the different team members here, that your team works together collaboratively. So usually your financial advisor is going to be what we call the quarterback of your financial team because we tend to see your entire holistic financial position. And usually we'll work closely with your CPA, with your estate planning attorney, but we want to make sure that this is a cohesive approach and that your financial plan is taking into consideration all of the different areas of your life. You don't want your team members, even if they're working with different companies, which is totally fine, you don't want them working in a silo. You want everybody coming together to really come up with a cohesive, comprehensive plan for you. That is extremely important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also that sort of trusting relationship and gut feeling is why we are really passionate when we're working with couples about both partners being equally involved in the decision-making process, in the review process, because statistics suggest that most women are going to outlive their male partner. And so we don't ever want any member of the family to feel like they're in the passenger seat or being put in the back seat. But it's even more critical in the likelihood that you could outlive your male partner and now all of these decisions will fall on you. So we also think it's important that you know that now so you do feel at least engaged, right, with the professionals you've been working with over the last few years. So now we're going to dive into some common mistakes that you can avoid when building your team. And the first one, and I think this is the biggest one, is not doing enough research. You want to take your time and explore your options and interview professionals. Even when Ann and I are doing introduction calls with new prospects, I always ask, who else have you spoken to? Who else have you interviewed? Because I think it's important that you talk to more than one person before you really nail down who that professional fit is for you. Make sure you feel comfortable with their approach, that you feel that you understand what they are explaining to you, and also that they understand your very unique situation. So, now again, we did mention that there are some decisions you'll have to make that are time sensitive. And so you might need to make a quick decision on working with a tax professional, but you definitely want to at least interview more than one person to make sure that you're identifying someone who's going to be a good fit for you. The other mistake that we see a lot is not updating the team regularly. I think we all sometimes can be guilty of holding on to professionals much longer than we should have. I mean, even if it comes down to a hairstylist, you knew that person wasn't doing a good job years ago. It was just easy to keep rebooking with them. So, when you're talking about your financial team, you want to make sure that you're reviewing and updating that team regularly. You want to revisit your team as your life evolves and as they change. Does this professional still serve me and where I am in my life now? Are they still experts in the phase of life that I'm experiencing? And then you also want to make sure that they're having periodic review meetings with you, right? You should be hearing from your financial professional team more than just every few years. And so keeping up to date with that, making sure that you're really doing that gut check, saying, is this person still the best fit for who I am and where I am right now, is going to be really important to making sure you maintain a long lasting, trusting relationship.
Absolutely. So, our approach at Curo is always to start with life goals and values, and then build out that financial plan, as we mentioned earlier. And then on top of that, layer the more technical things like the tax strategies and the retirement planning and the investment management. And if you are in this situation and you don't know who to turn to, we are happy to have an initial conversation with you to see if it would be a good fit to help you through this next phase of your journey because it is not easy, but you don't have to do it alone. And we would be happy to explore if a partnership would make sense. We're actually just recently onboarded a couple of widow clients who unfortunately, unexpectedly lost their husbands. And also, in both of these situations, husbands were the decision makers. And so there is this level of feeling extremely overwhelmed. But we sat down and we talked about past experiences, expectations, what keeps them up at night, the questions they have. And we're literally right now working on getting a plan together for them. So this is something we do all the time. And we'd be
Yeah.
happy to help you through this period.
Yeah, don't hesitate to reach out to us. But even if it's not us, again, the point of this is to encourage you to build a professional team. And one of the tips I always give other people as well is that if you're working with someone you really like, let's say Anna or Teresa at Curo Private Wealth, and you're not sure of who you should work with for taxes or who you should work with estate planning, don't be afraid to ask that person that you trust who they recommend. Because most often than not, we are working with other professionals who we like and who we know serve our clients well and who do really good work. So your current partners can also be good referral sources for the members of your team that you need to hire.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, it is time for our closing
Yay.
thought. Yay.
You go first today.
I am happy to go first today. I knew that was coming. No worries. So,
Good.
Atricia and I just got back from our back office's annual national conference down in Austin, Texas. It was a lot of fun. We actually got to bring a few of our other team members with us this year, which was super fun to have Curo really represented at that conference. And the keynote speaker was a man by the name of Neil Pasricha, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. He's an author. He actually started with a blog and then ended up writing multiple books. But he has studied the art of and the science of happiness and came with some specific tactical recommendations of things that you can implement in your life that are actually like quite approachable and easy to digest, and that he argues if you do these things, your happiness will increase. So, one of the things that he mentioned was a 2-minute morning routine, happiness routine, and it involves not grabbing your phone first thing in the morning. This is key. So, one of the things he mentioned is if you can like reach over to your bedside table and touch your phone, that is no bueno. You got to get your phone like in the bathroom or on the other side of the room so that you can't reach it first thing. So, first rule, do not check your phone when you wake up. Instead, you're going to sit down, pen to paper, actually like physical pen and physical paper or journal, whatever. And you're going to spend 2 minutes writing down these three things. I'm going to tell you the questions. One, I will let go of blank. So this could be I will let go of fear around something, or I will let go of anxiety about the future, or I will let go of anger that I have towards this person. So something that you want to let go of. Number two, I am grateful for blank. And the key here is to be as specific as possible. So, not just I'm grateful for my family, but I'm grateful for the time we spent at dinner last night talking about whatever. So, the more specific you can be about your gratitude, the better. And then the last question is I will focus on. So the key here is to think about what you want to focus on for that day. So it's maybe I will focus on staying present in all the interactions I have, or I will focus on the key tasks that I really need to get done and not let myself get distracted with social media, email, whatever. So I've been doing this and it's great and it's a nice exercise. Am I like exponentially more happy after a few days? No, but I like it. I'm down to like try to make this part of my routine. And the thing for me is I already, as you know, Teresa, wake up at the crack of dawn. So I'm always hesitant to add something to my morning routine. I'm like, okay, I'm getting up at like 2 o'clock in the morning now to do all this. So this is really manageable because it's literally 2 minutes. So that is my closing thought that I wanted to share with all of you today.
Love that. I was in that keynote as well, and it was very powerful. I'm also trying it. Starting first, the biggest challenge is not having the phone on the bedside table. It's weird how much you realize you're addicted to that little mini computer when you can't reach over and grab it. So even that has been an exercise in it not being the first thing I do when I open my eyes. And to your point, do I feel like I'm getting happier? No, but it's always the little things, right? The little things that build up, over time. So we'll see how it goes. But I've been also doing it as well as taking a moment, if anything, just to help reset and help you focus right on what you're grateful for before you start the day.
Yeah, I think the key thing for me is when you reach to grab your phone first thing in the morning, you immediately lose control of the first thing that you see in the morning, right? So maybe it's a breaking news alert that is 95% probability negative, right? Or it's a text or an email or something. But the point is, you can't control that. This you can fully control. So you get to decide first thing in the morning what you want your life to look like, what you want your day to look like, what you want to focus on. So that's, I think, a pretty powerful thing, is you have control versus some external source, bombarding you.
Yeah, it's a great tip. So you guys try it.
Let us
Send us an
know.
email.
Yeah.
Let us know. Let us know what you think. Okay, so my closing thought, I actually borrowed from Anne. I'm struggling today with my closing thought, but I do think that Anne's closing thought is probably a good segue into it. And it's because one of the other things that Neil mentioned in his keynote is this idea of the fallacy between needing to believe you can do something first and then being able to do it. So one of the things he encouraged us to do was spin that equation around and just start doing it first. And then the doing it helps you believe you can, right? It's easier to, I think he said it's easier to act your way into thinking than it is to think your way into acting. And so the closing that I borrowed is about Bad Bunny, the international, I mean, global superstar of a performer who performed at the Super Bowl this past Sunday. And if you know anything about Bad Bunny, is that 10 years ago, he was on the island of Puerto Rico working in a grocery store. And now he is arguably the biggest artist in the world. I don't even really know his music that well. And even I know the name Bad Bunny. So it's one of those kind of artists. Like your grandmother probably has heard the name Bad Bunny at some point. But it's that idea, right, that he was this kid who just started putting his music out, right, doing the thing, right, doing the acting that fueled this belief that he could do it, and in very short order has gone from unknown young kid in Puerto Rico to now a household name, which is a pretty incredible story. And to be performing on the biggest stage in the world is such a feat. I mean, I think I saw the numbers. There was 127 million viewers of that performance on Sunday, which is insanity. So again, good segue to it, but also a good reminder is that the believing and the thinking go hand in hand. But sometimes even just the acting will help you believe, right? Doing the thing will help you believe you can do it. So don't be afraid to just go after it.
Yeah, the action. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
At one point in Spanish, he said, my name is Benito. I don't remember the rest of his name because I only know him as Bad Bunny, but he was like, my name is so and so. And the only reason that I'm here is because I believed in myself, and you should believe in yourself too. And I love that message of, to your point, just like do the thing first. And that's what builds confidence.
Yeah.
People wait for the confidence to come, but you're never going to get it if you don't do the action.
Right.
Prove it to yourself.
Right. Right. The doing proves it to yourself that it can be done, which is a fantastic story.
Yeah.
So thanks, Bad Bunny.
Shout out to Bad Bunny. Yay. All right, y'all. Well, that wraps us for another week. Thank you so much again for joining us. And until next time,
live richly.
Thanks again for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Friendly reminder that this is for informational purposes only. For additional information, please visit us at www.curoprivatewealth.com. Until next time, live richly.